Right now, something is happening. Something bigger than any stock market crash, bigger than any recession, bigger than anything most people have seen in their lifetime. A transfer. The largest transfer of wealth in the last 80 years. Trillions of dollars, moving from one group of people to another. Quietly. Without headlines, without announcements, without anyone telling you it's happening. And by the time most people realize it, it will already be over. They will have missed it completely. Here's the uncomfortable truth. This transfer doesn't happen randomly. It doesn't happen by luck. It happens along a very specific line. On one side, the people who understand what's changing, who are building accordingly, who are positioning themselves for what comes next. On the other side, the people who are doing what they've always done. Following the old rules, running the old system, waiting for things to go back to normal. They won't. This video is about which side you're on and how to make sure it's the right one. Let's start with history, because this has happened before. In 1945, the world rebuilt itself after a war. New industries emerged. New technologies changed everything. Manufacturing, oil, real estate. The people who saw it coming and positioned accordingly built generational wealth. The people who held on to the old world watched that wealth pass them by. In the 1990s, the internet changed everything again. The people who understood what was happening built companies worth billions. The people who called it a fad missed one of the greatest wealth creation events in history. Now it's happening again. A third shift, and it's moving faster than the previous two. Three forces driving it. Force 1, the largest generational wealth transfer in history. Baby boomers hold approximately $84 trillion in assets. Over the next 20 years, that wealth transfers to the next generation. $84 trillion. Moving. Right now. Force 2. The collapse of traditional employment. The gig economy is replacing stable jobs. AI is replacing entire categories of work. The old promise, work hard, get a pension, retire safely, is disappearing for millions of people. Simultaneously. Force 3. The rise of asset ownership over income. The people building wealth right now are not doing it through salaries. They're doing it through ownership of assets that produce income, without their presence being required. Three forces, one direction, away from the old system, toward something new. Let's look at the data. In 1970, the top 1% owned about 25% of all wealth in America. Today, they own over 38%. In the same period, the bottom 50% went from owning 3% to owning just 2%. The gap is not closing, it's accelerating. And here's what drives that gap. Not income. Assets. The top 1% own stocks, real estate, businesses, things that produce income without their presence. The bottom 50% own almost no assets. They own income, a job, a salary, something that stops the moment they stop. Now here's the critical number. During the last major market downturn, the wealthy got wealthier. Not because they earned more, because their assets recovered and grew. While everyone else was selling in panic, asset owners win in downturns. Asset owners win in upturns. The only variable is whether you own assets or whether you own a job. First objection. This is just fear content. Every generation thinks they're living through the biggest shift. Things always work out. And historically, things do work out. For someone. The question is for whom, because every major economic shift produces winners and losers. And the winners are almost never the people who did nothing differently. They're the people who saw what was changing and adjusted before the majority did. In 1995, most people thought the internet was a toy. By 2005, the people who acted on it in 1995 had already built their advantage. The people who waited to see if it was real started from behind. This isn't doom and gloom. This is pattern recognition. The pattern says, shifts happen. Early movers benefit. Late movers catch up eventually. Non-movers get left behind. The question is which category you choose. Let's talk about who is actually benefiting from this shift. Not theories. Real categories of people. Category 1. People who own income-producing assets, index funds, rental properties, digital products, small businesses, anything that produces income without their daily presence. These people benefit from every economic shift because their income doesn't depend on a single employer or a single industry or a single set of circumstances. Category 2. People who have built skills that are hard to automate. Not just any skills. Skills that involve judgment, creativity, human connection, problem-solving in complex situations. AI can replace repetitive work. It cannot easily replace genuine human insight. Category 3. People who understand money systems, not just how to earn money, how to keep it, grow it, protect it, deploy it toward assets. These people don't just survive economic shifts, they use them because they know something others don't. Economic disruption creates opportunity for people who are positioned correctly. And positioned correctly means one thing: owning things, not just earning from things. Second objection. Asset ownership is for wealthy people. I don't have capital to invest. I'm just trying to pay my bills. And I want to address this directly because it's the most common response, and it contains a fundamental misunderstanding. Asset ownership doesn't require large capital. It requires starting. Here's what asset ownership looks like at different levels. $20 a month, an index fund. Started today. That's an asset. Small, but real. Growing. $50 a month. Same thing. Larger. $200 a month. Over 20 years at 8%. $117,000. From $200 a month. The barrier to asset ownership today is lower than at any point in history. You don't need a broker. You don't need minimum balances. You don't need connections. You need a phone. And a decision. The people who say they can't afford to own assets often can't afford not to, because the alternative is staying entirely on the wrong side of this transfer. Here's the mental shift that separates the people winning from the people watching. Stop thinking of yourself as an earner. Start thinking of yourself as an owner. Earners ask, how do I make more money? Owners ask, what can I own that makes money? Earners trade time. Owners deploy capital. Earners have a ceiling. Owners don't. And here's the critical insight. You don't have to choose one or the other immediately. You can be an earner who is becoming an owner. Use your income as the fuel. Direct a portion of it toward ownership. Every month, consistently, even imperfectly. And over time, the ownership grows. The income from ownership grows, until one day, the income from ownership exceeds the income from earning. That's the crossing point. The moment the shift completes for you personally, and it starts with the decision to become an owner. Not when you have enough. Now, with whatever you have. Last objection. The wealth transfer benefits the already wealthy. The system is designed to keep regular people out. This is optimistic theory for people who already have advantages. And parts of this are true. The system does have structural advantages for the wealthy. Those advantages are real, and acknowledging them is important. But here's what's also true. The barriers to participation have never been lower. A generation ago, investing required a broker. Minimums of thousands of dollars. Knowledge that wasn't freely available. Today, you can invest with your phone. With no minimum. With access to the same index funds that institutional investors use. The playing field is not level, but the gap between possible and impossible has narrowed dramatically. The people who use that gap build something real. The people who focus only on the unfairness stay exactly where they are. Both responses are understandable. Only one of them moves forward. 3 steps, concrete, starting today. Step 1. Shift your identity from earner to owner. Every financial decision you make this month, ask one question. Does this make me more of an owner or more of an earner? Buying something that loses value. Earner decision. Redirecting money to an asset. Owner decision. This one question changes everything. Step 2. Start owning something. Anything. An index fund, a small investment account, a digital product. One skill that earns beyond your job. The specific vehicle matters less than the act. The act of becoming an owner, even in a small way, changes your relationship with money, permanently. Step 3. Automate the ownership. Every month, a fixed amount moves to assets, before spending, before bills, before anything else. Automated. Non-negotiable. Because ownership built through automation survives the months when motivation doesn't. And motivation always fades. Systems don't. Here's the truth about the biggest wealth transfer in history. It's not coming. It's happening. Right now. While you watch this. While you go to work. While you pay your bills. And it will continue. With or without you. The only question is which side you're on. The people who understand what's happening and act accordingly will look back on this period as the moment everything changed. The people who did nothing differently will look back and wonder how they missed it. You don't have to miss it. You don't have to have large capital. You don't have to have connections. You just have to start owning something, anything, today, because the transfer is already in motion, and the best time to get on the right side is before it's obvious. Right now, it's not obvious to most people, which means right now is exactly the right time. The system is simple. Stop earning only. Start owning. The decision is yours.